Hi there, this is James Swanwick, and you're listening to the Alcohol Free Lifestyle Podcast, where you learn how to take back control over alcohol and live a life of health, wealth, love, and happiness.
Taylor Swift fans cancelled me again. James Swanwick here, host of the Alcohol Free Lifestyle Podcast. Today I'll be talking about how I went to the Taylor Swift concert at Wembley Stadium in London with my 12-year-old niece Sadie recently, and how I reposted a post from a friend of mine who I was interviewed on his podcast, and his post was questioning Taylor Swift's behavior of drinking alcohol at the Super Bowl back in February of 2024. And me reposting this post basically elicited a whole bunch of hate mail and cancellations and unfollows on my Instagram account. So we're going to talk about that. And as this relates to alcohol, as I said, back in February at the Super Bowl, Taylor Swift attended the game. Her current boyfriend, Travis Kelce, plays for the Kansas City Chiefs. She was there at the game in a corporate box watching her boyfriend play. The Chiefs went on to win. During the game, the camera cut to her in the corporate box, and she saw herself on the Jumbotron, which is the big in-stadium screen. And when she saw herself on the screen, she appeared to intentionally and deliberately chug a beer, for fun, to elicit cheers from the crowd. I observed this when I was watching the Super Bowl coverage, and at the time I posted on my Instagram account, which is at James Swanwick, a clip of her chugging what appeared to be beer, and then slamming the beer down and kind of smiling and celebrating. And I did a post describing her actions as, what was the word I used to describe it? It wasn't particularly flattering, I have to say. I'll have to go back and look at the post. But it was, I basically said, the inference was that it was terrible behavior, that she was setting a poor example to young children who idolize her by glorifying the drinking of alcohol. My choice of words was, in hindsight, maybe could have been a little softer, but it certainly was my view and remains my view that any public figure, including Taylor Swift, who is followed by impressionable young people, in my view, has an extra additional responsibility to display, let's call it clean living, good family-orientated living when they're out in public. And in my view, Taylor Swift at the Super Bowl deliberately glorifying the consumption of chugging beer by doing so knowing that she was on a big Jumbotron and being watched by hundreds of millions of people around the world was not, in that moment, in that instance, her being the good role model to millions of 12-year-old girls who idolize her. Because in my view, all of her young fans will see that, and if they weren't curious about alcohol previously, many of them may now be. If some of them know about it, it might continue it might continue to reinforce the notion that one day, that when they're older, they get to grow up and drink alcohol. And now we've got a whole society of people normalizing alcohol, which we shouldn't do, in my view. So anyway, I did this post, and you could probably go back to February of this year and find the post on my social media. Wow, I had no idea what the reaction would be. And the reaction was, I lost about 3,500 Instagram followers. So what that means is 3,500 people who were following my account unfollowed me because they were outraged that I was calling Taylor Swift out for that behavior when Taylor Swift in their view, as such this amazing, incredible, iconic, beautiful role model person, I was accused of misogyny, sexism, because the claims were that I would never call out a man for similar behavior, and that I was only picking on Taylor Swift because she was a woman. I'll come back to that accusation in just a few minutes. And I got a whole lot of DMs from people, direct messages in my private inbox, saying things like, you should be ashamed of yourself, you're an effing such and such, how dare you, how could you, I used to like your account, but you attacking Taylor Swift has now changed my opinion of you, etc., etc., etc. I'll read out some of the actual ones rather than just, generalizing or paraphrasing some of the comments in a moment, because something then happened a couple of days ago. But anyway, to go back to February. So this was interesting to me, and the irony of the whole thing was that I am actually a Taylor Swift fan, and Taylor Swift fans are affectionately known as Swifties. So as embarrassing as it may sound to be a 48-year-old man admitting to being a Swiftie, I am a Swiftie. Love Taylor Swift. Loved her music. Been fascinated with her business prowess, how she's managed to create a whole industry and have such passionate fans, and it's a real study of social psychology as well, how she's able to amass all of these fans to have such and have such relatability with them, and have the fans be so connected with each other and be so defensive of her. I mean, there's so many amazing things that we can learn from Taylor Swift, and she has really empowered many young women in particular. And she's done amazing things in the world. She's very charitable. She, if you're not unfamiliar with her, maybe you go, oh, Taylor Swift, she's that pop singer. Maybe just Google her and do a little bit of background research on her. She's a very, very impressive woman in many respects. And I was not impressed with her deliberately chugging beer at the Super Bowl in front of 200 million people on not just the 70,000 in the stadium, but the 200 million people watching on the television. And that was what I was calling her behavior out for. Anyway, it was amazing watching this happen unfold back in February, because I think I had 92,000 Instagram followers on my account at that stage, and they just kept dropping. Like every hour I'd go back and I'd lost 100. I'd go back again, lost 400. I lost another 500. It was just dropping like a stone. I was like, wow, this is fascinating. They are such fervent supporters of Taylor Swift that you cannot say anything bad. At least that was my impression. And they'll just punish you. The Daily Mail newspaper picked up on this. I'm not sure how, but they found it and they reached out to me and they said, I saw your post, or we saw your post about getting cancelled by Swifties. Can we interview you? And I thought about it and I thought, yeah, okay, I'll take a risk. The Daily Mail's not usually known for being a reputable newspaper or magazine, but candidly, I've had a couple of articles written about me and our stop drinking services a couple times, and it came out fine. It came out actually surprisingly very well. So even though they're not known for being a top-end, high-class publication, my experience when they have interviewed me and published articles about me and our alcohol-free lifestyle company previously have been okay. So I went, okay. So then they asked me a few questions, I gave them a few answers, and then they ran a story. And if you just Google James Swanwick, Daily Mail, Taylor Swift, that you'll find that article online somewhere and you can read it. And essentially the article said, I posted about Taylor Swift was cancelled and etc. Fast forward. So that was all in February, all right? Fast forward to June 2024. So what's that? February, March, April, May, June. 5 months later. I am coming to you right now live from Cambridge in the UK, which is a town an hour north of London. I'm here for the summer. I'm doing a summer course, social psychology, studying social psychology at Cambridge University. And Taylor Swift's in town. Taylor Swift has rolled through London. She had 3 nights at Wembley Stadium. And my 12-year-old niece Sadie is an absolute Taylor Swift obsessed fan, like one of those Swifties. And she had been telling me for weeks, she'd been dropping hints for weeks that she wanted to go to Taylor Swift. She's like, James, are you going to Taylor Swift? I'm like, nah, I'm not going. And I didn't really have plans to go because just depending on my dates. And as I got increasingly closer to the 3 nights that she was playing at Wembley, mid-June, I was thinking, you know what, actually I can go to this thing. And I want to go to this thing. I'd love to see Taylor Swift. And then I started thinking, well, how can I get a couple of tickets here and take Sadie? And of course the tickets are all sold out, so I ended up buying 2 tickets on the secondary market. Paid an obscene amount of money. I won't reveal exactly how much, but let's just say 4 figures for 2 tickets. 4 figures each. And a lot of money. And what was my reasoning for doing so? Well, in actual fact, I came to realize that the biggest driving factor was I really wanted to give the gift of the ticket to my niece, to Sadie. Like, I really have become increasingly family oriented in recent years, and so I was like, I really want to take her, and she'll be so excited, and so I'm going to take her. And of course I will get pleasure from that, of seeing that happen, and so it's not like a completely selfless act. And the second part of it is I love Taylor Swift. I really want to go to Taylor Swift. I really want to see it. I really want to see her, and I want to sing along. And so I said, okay, let's do this. So I bought 2 tickets on the secondary market. I phoned up Sadie on FaceTime 2 nights before and said, I've got a surprise for you. She said, what? And I said, you and I are going to see Taylor Swift this Friday night. And of course she freaked out. She screamed, she's like, oh my God, I'm going to Taylor Swift. And she fell off a chair and she was kicking her legs and she was crying and she was screaming. And we got it all on video. I'll post the video on my Instagram at some point. She was so excited. And then on the Friday of the concert, because I got tickets to night 1 of her 3-night set, 3-night tour of London, in sort of, I think it was January the 21st, 22nd, somewhere around there. Her father, who's my brother, drove her from Worcester in the UK, where they live, to Harrow Hill tube station north of Wembley Stadium. I got the train down from Cambridge, met them at Harrow Hill station, picked up Sadie. We got on the train 3 stops south to Wembley Stadium. We got out. We met all these Swifties. My niece had all these bracelets. These Swifties kind of wear these bracelets, and they swap the bracelets. It's part of Taylor Swift's kind of thing where all of the fans, who are 90% girls, women, they dress up in glitter and dresses and all these kind of things, and they have sometimes dozens of bracelets that they've made at home that says like Taylor or Swift or Swiftie or the name of some of the albums. And then when they go to the stadium to these concerts, they just walk up to one another and say, hey, would you like to swap a bracelet? And then they swap bracelets. So we did this, and it was amazing. The atmosphere was incredible. It was funny because it really was 90% women at this concert, and the 10% men were either fathers or uncles like me, or maybe, let's say, effeminate men who were with groups of 10 girls, like a whole bunch of friends and then one guy. So I didn't see what I might construe as too many kind of alpha male-esque men there. Although I guess you could say that, a man or an uncle who's taking their young daughters and giving that gift is very alpha male-esque, isn't it? But it was 90% women, and man, the lines to the women's bathroom were horrendous. It was one of those times where I really thanked the world that I was a man, when I wanted to use the bathroom and just walk straight in because there were no men in the stadium, and the women's line was just 100 meters long. In any case, we went into the stadium. We had seats towards the back of the stadium. I'd originally bought general admission tickets, but then realised that you had to be over 14 to get in there, and Sadie's only 12, so I had to resell them, put them back on the market, sell them, and then buy 2 other tickets, which I did up the back of the stadium, towards the back, but on the first kind of level above the standing area. So there were very good seats, even though they were at the back of the stadium, because there was a big screen there. And again, I was sitting in a block of seats in the stadium where it was me and maybe 5 or 6 other men. And there was a man sitting to the left of me who was there with his 10-year-old daughter. And I swear to God, his daughter and my niece throughout the whole concert were pretty much competing for who knew the most lyrics to the most number of songs. I mean, they weren't really competing, but they knew just about, it seemed, every lyric of every song. Like, they were screaming it. It was fascinating. And I looked over at this father a couple of times with this knowing glance, and we're just kind of somewhat rolling our eyes, you know, but also a knowing look of, wow, we're just giving them, as in our, you know, our daughter and niece, so much pleasure right now. And isn't this a great feeling as a kind of like a provider or a protector or a parent to be able to give them this gift? But then secretly, or not so secretly now, I'm actually loving Taylor Swift's music. I'm loving the concert and really admiring what I'm seeing and witnessing, and I'm singing along. And so, in my view, I am thinking, this is great, this is amazing, this is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful experience. I'm having a great time, taking some videos. Sadie loves the concert. We leave, we race out about 1 minute to go before the final song finished, so we could try to beat as much of the foot traffic as possible. We raced up to Wembley Stadium, we got on the tube, we go 3 tube stops north, where Sadie's father, my brother Edward, is waiting. He's been waiting patiently for 6 hours, and we say goodbye. She says, thanks very much, had a wonderful time. Say goodbye. He drives 2 hours back to Worcester, starting his journey at 11:30 at night, which is what time it is now. I've organised a car service to a guy to pick me up at Harrow Hill Station and drive me 1 hour and 20 minutes to Cambridge, where I go back to where I'm staying with my family, my partner and daughter, for the summer. And I get back at 1:30, 1:15, shower, and I'm in bed by 2, asleep by 2:15, 2:30, right, in the morning. Long day, but wonderful experience. Loved it. I'm getting all the praise from my sister-in-law, from my brother, from my mother, who's so happy that I took Sadie, from all the extended family. Oh, James, you've done a wonderful thing. Oh, that was great. She's a very lucky girl. Sadie was sending me videos the next day, and it was just a wonderful experience. So fast forward to yesterday, which is a week later, and I just wake up, I go downstairs, I'm kind of checking a few things on my phone, and I see that I've been invited to be a collaborator on an Instagram reel from a gentleman named James Laughlin, who has a podcast, and I was interviewed on his podcast maybe 2 months ago, maybe 2 or 3 months ago. And in that podcast, James Laughlin, not me, but James, also questions Taylor Swift chugging beer at the Super Bowl. And in a very pleasant way, I must say, like as pleasant as it can be. So he basically said in this social media clip, I love Taylor Swift, she's very creative, she's great. And I saw her chugging beer at the Super Bowl, and I just thought, I think she's got to be a little bit more of a role model, knowing that all those people are watching at that stage. Maybe she shouldn't have done that, but she's great, and blah, 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 blah. And I didn't think anything of it. I thought, okay, cool, that's fine. He's inviting me to be a collaborator. What that means is I get a notification in my social media, Instagram, and it says that James Laughlin has tagged you, as in me, in this post. And if I accept the collaboration, his post will then automatically post to my Instagram page. So I didn't think much more of it. I just thought, yeah, okay, he's very innocently saying the same thing that I said back in February, and it's not me saying it. and I'll just put it on my page just to elicit any kind of, conversation about it. And I thought, well, I love Taylor Swift. I've been a Taylor Swift. It's not a super critical statement on Taylor Swift. It's just kind of repeating what I had said back in February, but in a much calmer, nicer way. Not even a much calmer way, just in a very placid kind of way. And so I just went, okay, I accept the collaboration, and it went on my Instagram. So I turn my phone off and I go for a walk and I get a little morning coffee, get my sunlight. 45 minutes later, I innocently open up my Instagram again, and it's all kicked off again. Wow. I start reading all of these hate messages again in 45 minutes on a Monday morning in the UK time. That wasn't the US time zone, hadn't even woken up yet. Like, I'm saying that because most of my people who follow me are in the US time zone. And I just start getting absolutely smashed. And I'll read some of the comments because I took photos, screenshots of them. Let's have a look here. I'm just putting my glasses on so I can read these properly. Okay, here's some of the comments on this post. Major thumbs down to this, unfollowing you now. Well, that was a quick unfollow. These are the tame ones, by the way. When are men going to start calling out their own kind for all their shocking, unacceptable behavior instead of giving your 2 cents on a great woman who has stood up for women everywhere? I'll come back to that in just a second. This woman says, I am alcohol-free by choice, and I used to really enjoy the content from this account, but lately I see you not only point out, but full-on attack people in the spotlight for their choice to drink. This is not a way to convince people around sober living. It's none of our business what celebrities do with their lives. How about you stick to what you're good at, promoting sobriety for the reasons that a sober life is worth living, and stop degrading other humans for their choice to drink just because they're popular. By doing this, you're not only judging them, you're judging those who are currently choosing to drink. Horrible post. Let's have another one. Let's have a look. I bet you wouldn't say that if she was a man. That got 21 likes from other people. And then I got a couple of DMs, which I won't read out, but the DMs basically had profanity in it. And again, along the lines of you should be ashamed of yourself and you're a disgrace and etc., etc., etc. So that's what happened. In regards to the comments from people who are accusing me of only calling out Taylor Swift because she was a woman, I said in the replies, I said, with the greatest of respect, I have repeatedly called out George Clooney, Ryan Reynolds, and Dwayne Johnson. Please go to my alcoholfreelifestyle.com YouTube account. You can go to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/YouTube. I got accused of being sexist. That was actually the most frequent accusation. And I kept saying the same thing. I've questioned George Clooney, Ryan Reynolds, and Dwayne Johnson all owning liquor brands. So go to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/YouTube. And then I said, and I'm a Swiftie. Another woman said, you are always looking to help high achievers stop drinking. Do you think this behavior will have those people come to you? I'll tell you now, I never would. Not after a post criticizing a high achiever for drinking in public. I used to share content from this account to my followers, not anymore. Another woman said, So she chugged that beer as a joke because there was a viral drinking game to chug every time they showed her on the TV. She was essentially poking fun at that. That said, it's not Taylor's responsibility to teach my child about alcohol or drinking responsibly. It's mine and mine alone. Take responsibility for your own kids and stop relying on other people to parent for you. Also, I've seen many comments above regarding you not having the same energy toward men, and you keep saying to check out your YouTube. Post it here. And I did post it. Another comment said, as an adult, she can do what she likes. Anyway, there's a whole lot of more stuff you can go. I'm just reading out the ones. I don't want to bore you by the time it takes me to find the comments and read them out to you. But that's kind of like the gist of it. So, few things. What is your view? What's your view on this? Do you feel like the post was pretty tame, and is it okay to question someone like Taylor Swift for deliberately drinking beer in front of a national television audience, or do you feel like we shouldn't be calling them out at all, and that they should just do what they want? They don't have to be a role model to anyone. What do you think about some of the comments that people are sharing? What do you think about the women, many of the women accusing the post and accusing me of being sexist and misogynist? Do you like, who cares? Not a big deal, whatever. What do you think about social media in general and people's making comments? What is it about society that has people say these kind of things? What about, receiving and very aggressive, hostile, combative messages? Was my post back in February a combative, hostile post? Was me reposting James Laughlin's views on Taylor Swift an act of hostility and combativeness against Taylor Swift? What are your views on it? I'd love to know. Here's my view, for what it's worth. And you don't have to agree with it, but, I'll just share it. And the beautiful thing about life is that we can all have an opinion, and we can all have our perspectives, and we can share our perspectives. So here's my perspective. In fact, before I do that, why don't I just read out what I actually said my perspective was? Because I did write a post yesterday when all these messages were coming through again. And I thought, all right, I'll just do this post and let's see. I said, I am a Swiftie. I took my 12-year-old niece to the Taylor Swift concert at Wembley in London on Friday night, and we loved it. We loved Taylor. It was such a beautiful, fun night. Now I'm being unfollowed again, receiving vile hate messages again, being accused of sexism and misogyny again, because I reposted the thoughts of my friend James Laughlin, official, from a recent podcast. And I love Taylor Swift. For the record, I align with James's thoughts. And I love Taylor Swift. It's not binary. I feel I can absolutely question somebody's behavior as a role model, whilst simultaneously thinking she's generally an incredible role model. And to those accusations, I don't question a man's behavior, as if I'm picking on Taylor Swift solely because she's a woman. Respectfully, I've questioned George Clooney, Ryan Reynolds, and Dwayne Johnson for owning liquor brands repeatedly. See the videos at alcoholfreelifestyle.com/YouTube. I went through all of this in February and lost 3,000 followers. I'll let the chips fall as they may again and simply get on with our AFL mission of supporting 1 million people have a better relationship with alcohol. Thank you for the polite comments. I truly consider you part of our tribe. So that was the view that I shared on social media after all this kicked off again. And that's my view now. My view is I can love Taylor Swift and her music and think that she's an amazing role model most of the time, while still questioning her behavior at the Super Bowl of chugging beer in front of a worldwide television audience where she has impressionable young girls watching her. That's my view. I can do both. And, my stance is that all celebrities, all people in the public eye, do have an additional responsibility to set a good example. And so, yes, they can drink if they choose, they can drink alcohol, but to openly flaunt the chugging of alcohol when there is a worldwide television audience, in my view, is irresponsible behavior. So I wasn't calling out Taylor Swift, the person in general. I was calling out Taylor Swift's behavior in that moment, which was, Taylor, there are millions of young, impressionable girls watching you who idolize you. What are they going to think if they see their idol getting drunk, chugging beer, and intentionally trying to elicit humor and celebration and adoration for chugging beer? What are they going to think? Is that really a great example? Now, behind closed doors, you can do what you want. That's fine. But when you know that there are all these millions of girls watching, I just feel like in that moment, she had a greater responsibility. In regards to George Clooney and Ryan Reynolds and Dwayne Johnson, these are celebrities. George Clooney, the Hollywood actor, Ryan Reynolds, the Hollywood actor, Dwayne Johnson, the Hollywood actor. They all own liquor brands. Ryan Reynolds has a company called Aviation Gin. I can't remember what The Rock, Dwayne Johnson's is, and I can't remember what George Clooney's is. But George Clooney's was valued at $1 billion. I think Aviation Gin is getting close, and I know The Rock is getting up there as well. Now, these three men, they all are very charitable. They've done great things for the world. Like, they've raised money for charity. They've done great stuff for causes. George Clooney's wife is a human rights lawyer, activist. Ryan Reynolds has done a lot of work with cancer foundations. The Rock has inspired generations of men and women to be into health and fitness and made children's movies. And so there's so much to admire about them. And they have also made a conscious choice to create liquor brands. And alcohol is simply attractively packaged poison. That's all it is. So I just see a contradiction there that I feel very uneasy about. And I feel like it's hypocrisy for these celebrities, and in these cases, these three gentlemen I'm referring to be all about wanting to be, do the right thing for society and do good work, which they do, while simultaneously encouraging people to drink any amount of attractively packaged poison. Now, you might be listening and think, come on, lighten up, for goodness sake. People have got their own choices to make. And you're right, people have got their own choices to make. But I'm telling you, alcohol is straight poison. And all we do is we put it in a very attractively packaged bottle and we sell this poison. And the 2022 study came out in the UK. They looked at 35,000 middle-aged Brits, and it showed that even one seemingly innocent drink per day, just 7 standard drinks a week, was enough to cause some level of brain damage. More specifically, it compromises the grey and white matter in our brain. And I see it, just anecdotally, I see it in my mother's husband, who has dementia, and he was a drinker all of his life. Not an alcoholic, maybe not even a heavy drinker, but just a socially acceptable, consistent drinker over decades. And, his dementia is really bad. He's now going into a home because my mum can no longer care for him effectively, and he's forgetful, and he's got all these problems. Now, he is exactly the same age as my father, and my father has been a very, very, very modest drinker, maybe a drink a week, right? So he hasn't completely given it up, but maybe a drink or two a week. My dad's as sharp as a tack. Now, can I just pinpoint it to alcohol use? No, I can't. But in my view, based on everything that I've studied about alcohol and dementia rates and health and fitness and cognitive function, the alcohol, in my view, absolutely has played a significant part in my mother's husband's dementia. I'm not a doctor, can't prove that. It's my anecdotal observation. So the point I'm trying to make here is that I have a belief that any amount of alcohol is disruptive and compromising to we human beings. That seems to be increasingly backed up by all recent scientific studies that take place. I haven't found any studies recently that suggest that drinking alcohol is good for us. I only see studies coming out now showing that alcohol is actually bad for us, and any amount of alcohol is bad for us. And so knowing that, I now question folks like George Clooney, Dwayne Johnson, and Ryan Reynolds for owning a substance and promoting a substance that does society no good. And it's not just on an individual level, on a societal level. Alcohol causes so many social problems, from marital breakups to domestic abuse to DUIs to people being killed on the roads to dementia to health problems. So when I see Taylor Swift intentionally glorifying alcohol at the Super Bowl, chugging alcohol, knowing that there's 200 million people watching, including millions and millions and millions of young girls just like my 12-year-old niece Sadie, who idolizes her, I question that behavior in that moment. I don't question her as a person overall. She's done amazing things, but I think it's absolutely fine to question her behavior in that moment as a role model, and to continuously question public figures glorifying attractively packaged poison when we know that it's poison. So I'm going to continue doing so. And I still love Taylor Swift and her music. And I'm still a Swiftie. And I still really admire George Clooney's work and Ryan Reynolds and The Rock. And I admire most of what they do. It's not binary. So that's my view. What is your view on this? I would love to hear from you. If you have a thought that you'd like to share with me, you can send me a direct message over on Instagram, or if you really disagree, like many of the people seem to, you could always just unfollow me. Just you might have to get in line to unfollow me, because there's plenty of them, and that's okay. We don't want to take ourselves too seriously, do we? If this episode helped, please do share it with someone else. I'd love for you to just go into your phone right now and just copy the link and share it to a friend of yours and say, what do you think? If you've got some Taylor Swift fans, send it to them. See what they think. Love for you to get engaged in the conversation. Thank you so much for listening. What's your favorite Taylor Swift song? You want to send me your favorite Taylor Swift song? All right, that's enough from me. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you on the next one.
Thanks for listening to the Alcohol-Free Lifestyle podcast. I want to load you up with some free stuff right now. So if you want to go to jamesswanwick.com/guide, I will send you my Quit Alcohol Guide, which has helped six-figure entrepreneurs and top professionals reduce or quit drinking. You can also text the word QUIT GUIDE to the number 44222 if you're in the US, of course. It doesn't really work anywhere outside of the US, but if you're in the US on your mobile phone and you'd like that guide, text the word QUIT GUIDE to the number 44222, or you can go to jamesswanwick.com/guide. If you'd like to schedule a free 15-minute call with one of my top coaches, just an exploratory call to see if or how we can help you, then you can go to jamesswanwick.com/schedule, or you can text the word Project 90 to the number 44222 if you're listening in the US on a mobile phone. That's jamesswanwick.com/schedule, or you can text the word Project 90, that's one word, Project 90, to the number 44222. Feel free to send me a direct message over on my Instagram account, which is @JamesSwanwick. You can also watch video episodes of this podcast and a series of other educational videos on my YouTube channel, which is James Swanwick 1, or you can direct message me on Facebook James Swanwick Official. And finally, a request. Would you please now write a short review of the podcast inside of the Apple Podcast app on your phone or on iTunes on your desktop computer? Would you please give the show 5 stars and write a quick 1 or 2 sentence review? This will help the show get in front of even more listeners, potentially transforming someone's life. You can rate and review the show inside of your Apple Podcast app on your phone or over on iTunes on your desktop. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you next time.